Good evening. It's Patrick here from Have Cheetah Will View and 8 Questions With. Welcome to a special Friday night edition of the show. We will be talking to, uh, wow, I don't even know how to describe Bill Oberst Jr., quite honestly. Um, I know he's done a ton of horror films and he's well beloved and respected in the genre, but he is so much more than that. Um, it's a term a little maybe tossed around a little loosely, but I think he's a Renaissance man. He's it's gonna be a really interesting show. Um, he's a tremendous actor. Won many awards. Has appeared on stage. He's won a daytime Emmy. Um, and he's done a ton of low budget horror films. He also has a new podcast that he's been running for a little bit called Gothic Goodnight, which we'll be talking about. I got to listen to several episodes of it today, and wow, it made me want to ask more questions, if anything else. Um, yeah, we're gonna chop it up with Bill. He's gonna be here in about 15 minutes, so I'm really glad you guys are here. Well, it's just me right now, but I know a lot of you guys will start showing up here shortly. Yeah. Uh, it is cold tonight here in southeastern Michigan. It's 36 degrees. It's cold and gray. We have not had any really sun to speak of, so I'm sort of over that. Uh, I want to take this opportunity to thank my very good friend Crystal from Real Lady Electricians channel uh, for asking me to do a collab with her. We're supposed to talk about 6 of our channel friends, and she just blew me up. She blew me up. I woke up this morning with 577 people, and I don't know what she said. Well, I do actually. I do know what she said, and it's something I probably should say a lot more. Is the guy has a cheetah, you know. But next thing I know, I look over, and now we are blazing past 600 subs. Um, I'm hoping that they stay. I'm hoping that they all stay. That would be just an absolute miracle. Um, so, but I want to thank Crystal and her friend Jamie, her sister Jamie, for thinking about me and asking me to do it. I hope I did it right. I put some friends down that I want you guys to go check out. Some of you may know them, like our Hobbs from Hobbs Horror. And of course, I had to put my co-pilot down from the Midnight Society. But there's some other folks I want you to go check out too, like Jamie and Crystal, who supported our show here many times. Of course, the lovely and very sassy Brandy from Rainbow Goth, and one of my new friends who's actually been coming here and watching our show, which surprises the hell out of me. I'm just it's so cool what people will watch and listen to, and that is my new friend Betty J Gathers, and I put her down too because I think her channel is not only fun but it's also an important one too. Hell, they're all important, to tell you the truth. So that's all. I just dropped that today, so you guys can go check out my 7 friends. I'm supposed to put 6, but I put 7. So if you get a chance and you want to go over there and take a look at their channels and give them a sub, that would be awesome. I really would appreciate it. Again, Crystal, thank you so much. I hope you're feeling better as I broadcast this. I hope you're feeling much better. Uh, and since some of you might be new to the channel, and I probably should be waiting until people get here before I read that. So I won't do the calendar quite yet. I'll wait till some of you guys get here, and then we'll get in on it. All right, I should go ahead and share this out, which I'm going to do right now. I'm going to go drop this on my Facebook page, saying, "Guess who's live?" That would be me. All right. Hopefully, you guys all had a good day today. That would be awesome to hear. All right. Okay. There we go. So this has been a pretty interesting week for the show. This is the we just got done completing Women in Horror Month, and we had a really sensational month. I want to thank everybody who participated in the month. There's all these ladies that came out and shared their stories and talked about their careers and their movies, um, and their fans. We started off with Jen Tochi was out with us. Then we met Tatiana Moranovic from No Tears in Hell. She came out. Dolores Wheeler came out and said hello to us. Thank you, Dolores. We met the Mighty Spooky Kisses, and what a sensational show that was. She was a lot of fun. Her and her husband both, just amazing people. It makes me really, I know we're supposed to be going into summer right now, spring and summer, but I really wish we were actually going back into fall because I can't wait to see their new projects or new haunts. Of course, we had our two doubleheader. We had our first of our doubleheader shows. We met the very delightful Donna Taylor from the UK, producer, actress, director, writer. And then we met Bailey Harrington from the new movie, which actually is filming now. It is filming, the Sawyer Massacre. She went out there and filmed her part, and I think she was out there for a week or so. And then John from Doomsday Crypt has been talking to the gentleman who's playing Leatherface, and he's also talking to Steve Merlo, who is directing the movie. So that's awesome. So we got to talk to her, and then we got to talk to Dylan Fawn Harvey from the film Clownado and Bone Hill Road, and she's actually filming a new Todd Sheets movies even as we speak. And not only is that's right, yo, the Midnight Society. We got to come with a secret. We got to come with like a secret sign, like fangs or something. Like this is like fangs, since you're a vampire and all that. So I'm just thinking like fangs. So we talked to the delightful Dylan Fawn Harvey, super sweet lady. Really like talking to her quite a bit. Cody Ray in the house. Great. Glad you guys are here. Bill will be here in about 10 minutes or so. This is gonna be a fun show tonight. Bill Oberst Jr. is I'm gonna drop his movie database page in the chat here, so we get an idea exactly what this guy has done. He has done a lot of he's done he has been the backbone for many low budget horror films. And he's helped out so many of them. You'll look at a lot of these movies, and a lot of these movies you might have not seen before, but I can tell you right now that they wouldn't have been made without him. He's one of those people I'll mention once in a while. He's like an elevator. He elevates a project. His name gets things done. If you want if you're making a horror film and you want to have a little bit of cachet, a little bit of punch to it, especially if you're fundraising or if you're trying to get financing, when you mention Bill Oberst Jr., your chances are going to get a little bit better because he brings fans to the screen. He brings fans to your film. You can put his name on the box. It's going to help sell. It's going to help sell the movie. Now, what's really interesting is what you're looking at his credits. He hasn't been doing it that long. That's what really surprised me. He started his career in 2008, his film career. Now he didn't start his career in 2008. he'd been working already. He has done many stage plays. Um, I, my first question to him is, I really want to know is like, how did he get into horror? I mean, it's almost like It's almost like, and I'm not overstating this either, but it's sort of like watching someone like a Denzel Washington doing a Wild Eye movie. He's got that kind of talent. You watch him and you go like, why is he doing that? You know, Malcolm McDowell. Malcolm McDowell. He does some of the low budget horror movies, and you ask him why does he do it? What's the motivation? And I think they just love the. I think they love the work. I think they want to stay busy. Um, it's gonna be a good show. Um, I'm gonna do my very best. You guys better ask a lot of questions too, by all means. You guys will ask a lot of questions that will help too. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up for me. Uh, that would be awesome as well. Yeah, I can't wait for it to talk to him. It's really going to be exciting. Um, I was actually talking about the Women of Horror Month we just completed, so I wanted to go through and say thank you to all the ladies that popped up. Um, we had a special show outside the whoops. All right, boys and girls, put your hands together because here he comes. Please help me welcome Bill Oberst Jr. to 8 Questions with.
Hey, how are you?
Good, sir. Good.
Good, Patrick. Thanks for having me.
Oh my gosh, the honor is all mine.
So,
Uh,
listen, I gotta ask, do you really have an unusual pet?
I do.
Is
I do.
is is he with you now?
He will be making his appearance, I'm sure. Um, Normally I wouldn't let him I wouldn't let him come up on a show like this, but I tell you what, when he does make an appearance, I'll let him come up and you can see him.
How long have you had him?
I've had Paladin now for 8 years, going on 9.
And what's the lifespan?
Well, since he's a hybrid, right? He's not full cheetah because couldn't do that, but he's half cheetah, he's half British Shorthair. He's
Uh,
small, but you can see his features, and he's very very fast. He's very opinionated. Uh, he's he's also he's also quite friendly. I've only had one time where he got out of the house, which I don't know who was more scared, me or him. Um, but I got it. He ran out of the house one time, and I had to pick him up. And by the time I got inside the house, my hand looked like I had 23 different puncture marks on my hand, and I had one of his claws embedded in the back of my hand. My whole back of the hand was all blood, but he didn't try to bite me. Not once. He's never tried that. But my whole hand was just it looked straight out from one of the from a horror film.
does he
Um,
does he sleep with you?
yes, yeah,
Wow.
I can always tell when it's winter's coming because his fur will get thick around his chest. Because I mean, when you see him, he looks smallish, but when the winter comes, he gets the winter fur comes in and he fluffs up really well. And but yeah, he's definitely a ham. He's definitely a ham. How about you? Do you have any pets, Bill?
That is awesome. I had Dachshunds for years. The last one just passed away. Most of them live to be about 15 years, which is a long lifespan. And so I'm in that mourning period in between.
Right.
I'm sure there'll be another one, but yeah, it's funny how we all have like certain types of pets that we connect to. I'm not a cat guy. Are you a cat guy other than
Yeah,
cheetahs?
yeah. I'm a cat guy.
Yeah.
But I like I like I like dogs too. I mean, there's certain breeds I'll avoid. I mean, I wouldn't want to be around it, because I just don't trust them. I don't trust pit bulls, so
Yeah.
I don't really, people can have them all they want. I just don't trust the breed myself. Um, but I mean, I had a Siberian Malamute when I was growing up, so
My dad rescues pit bulls, and most of them are okay, but sometime, like you say, there's just something in the breed, and dogs that have been living together for a while will suddenly just boom.
yeah, that's the thing with pit bulls. It's like, you hear all the time when there's an incident, and the first thing you hear over and over and over is it's the owners, it's the owners. It's like I can't tell you, Bill, how many dog owners I know that love their dogs and absolutely would, do anything for their dogs. They train them, they work with them, they run them, they play with them, everything else, and this including pit bulls. But yet, you're right. There's something in the breed. It'll just who knows why. It's just they'll turn around and snap. And it's just like those two rescuers down in Florida a couple of weeks ago. They were experienced operators. They've been rehabilitating dogs for years. And that one dog just turned around and killed one. And it was just like, wow.
I think
Um,
you just said a mouthful when you said there's something in the breed, because that's true of our breed too.
yes, yes. You and I were touched about that briefly.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, I was working this afternoon after you and I talked, and I brought up Gothic Goodnight, and wow, I was so hooked.
Oh, thank you, man. And I
Yeah.
just finished the new episode, which is Edgar Allan Poe's Cask of Amontillado. I just put it up just before I came
Oh,
on with you.
oh, okay. I'll listen to that. That show is amazing. I'm sitting there listening to it and going like, I already had a set full of questions here, right? I had my questions here. The more I'm listening to it, the more episodes I'm listening, I'm going like, that bucket of questions is getting bigger and bigger and bigger, because it's amazing. I have so many to ask. Uh, can you see the chat room?
I
Can
can't see the
can
chat room. No,
Okay, I like to go ahead and oh, thank you, Roy and Becky. I like to go ahead and tell you what people are talking in the chat if I can.
please.
We got up to six, and we just got rated by our good friends Roy and Becky. So our friend Mr. Bones is here. He's my silent co-host. He keeps everything rolling smooth. Um, Echo's here. Hello, Echo. Hello, Fairy Dust. Brene, thank you so much. Diana, hi. It's the Al Licard. He's my co-host on our podcast, The Midnight Society.
I love the name.
Cody Ray. Yeah, and we have a lot of fun so far. We're doing a deep dive on Friday the 13th. I haven't seen those movies in years, so it's like watching them all over again for the first time, and it's like this is really fun. It's really fun. Uh, All right. Hey, all right. So, Bill, thank you so much again for coming on. This is just a tremendous honor. I don't generally get tongue tied a little bit, but your resume and your reputation is very impressive.
Well,
Um,
with a face like this, there's only really one genre that I can work in, and so I'm blessed to have had a little career in it.
I'm blown away by that, to be honest with you, because like I was telling the folks before you got here, listening to you, reading your background, and listen to the podcast and everything else. I was like, you're working in horror, you're looking at a lot of the independent horror movies, and I'm going like, it sort of would be like asking Denzel Washington to do what you're doing, because you're a tremendous actor. I mean, and I'm curious to find out what led you to take the track that you did. I would like to think that casting directors are not that blind or naive to bypass you and your talent just based on your look.
Well, I look at it as like there's archetypes. like what we're doing really, any kind of telling a story, you're sitting around a campfire. And so people want the villain to be a villain, and they want the hero to be a hero, and so forth and so forth. And so, like, film is a completely visual medium. On stage, I played all kinds of people, and I really loved history, so I played a lot of historical characters. You can do a lot on stage, but when the camera's like right here, everything about my face says, "Don't trust this face," and so people like to look at a face like mine and think, uh-huh, I knew I couldn't trust that son of a bitch. And it's satisfying to them. And that's why villains work a lot in film and TV, because people need us to sort of justify their own judgments about other human beings. It's ridiculous, of course, because you can't
It
look at a
is.
person and know what
No,
they're like, but it's
no.
myth, and we're playing around with myth, and people like to say, "Huh, I knew I couldn't trust him."
It's funny. It's like I mentioned to you too when I'm at in my email. Like I was listening to it, and everybody here, that the horror, most of the folks here, they all love horror films and whatnot. But if we really go back to like beginning of our fandom, like when did you become a horror fan? What was the thing that triggered it? And I think for a lot of people now, you're right. It is. I mean, if you ask people what triggered it, it's watching TV or watching movies. Someone at our age, when I cut my teeth on horror was radio. I
Yes.
cut it on. I listened to the CBS Mystery Theater with E.G. Marshall. When I was hearing you on the podcast, I got that same vibe when I was like 14 years old. I had KNX 1070 on down in L.A. and every 9 o'clock there'd be the CBS Mystery Theater. And I
Yeah,
used my imagination. You
I
know,
think I'm glad you said that, because my first exposure were books, Famous Monsters of Filmland magazine, and Forrest Ackerman, editor of Famous Monsters, turned my whole generation onto Poe, things I never would have read. I was like 13 trying to read Dracula, which is a really difficult book for a 13-year-old, reading Frankenstein, reading Edgar Allan Poe. And my dad always messed around with radios, and he gave me a quartz radio, old fashioned quartz radio set. So I would take it under the covers at night, and at night on AM radio, you can pick up everything. And so
yeah,
I also would listen to the old broadcast of the Mystery Radio Theater. All There was one in Chicago that used to run the old Inner Sanctum and Lights Out. And so that's where I got all of this in my head, the words and the sounds, before I ever saw the pictures.
now the Inner Sanctum, did that ever spook the hell out of you? Because it did me.
At
Some of the
night,
stories in Inner Sanctum,
absolutely.
oh yes,
And I'll tell you something else. I don't know if you ever listened to Art Bell when he was
yeah,
doing Coast to Coast. But I used to do a lot of touring theater. I did a lot of touring theater. So I'd be driving late at night in the middle of usually nowhere on these rural roads. And I'd put on Art Bell, and it would creep me out, man. Having people call in saying that they were from another dimension. Stuff that in the daytime you would think, oh, that's just bullshit. In the middle of
right,
the night, it's pretty creepy.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. There's many times where listening to the Mystery Theater, and then that door would be creaking, and and it was just like in your imagination, it would just work and expand it. That's where you developed your imagination to see what was out there because anything was possible back then.
Yes.
Um, and then I got into books. I got into books right after that, way before I got into movies. I read all the like Ramsey Campbell, Robert Bloch, all the Stephen King early works, Ray Bradbury, who you are very close to. So I read a lot of
Yeah.
Ray Bradbury. Um, yeah, those are the days. I
The,
mean,
the
those are the days where people who you had to use your mind's eye to see what was out there.
and the
Where
best, some of the best moments in horror don't involve words. Like A lot of the stuff in Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, these great, just these shots with no words, just the atmosphere. The great shot of Karloff, which is completely silent. There's not even any music underneath it. It's really crude. But in the original 31 Frankenstein, where he's tormenting him with the fire, and Victor Frankenstein comes in and opens up the skylight, and for the first time, this monster sees the sunlight, and Karloff just reaches up and ah, it's one of the most powerful moments in all of horror, and there's not a word spoken.
No, Frankenstein. That's a interesting. That's a really good analogy because Frankenstein was one of those things you see with his face. You see the face, and you go like instantly. You think of is he's a villain. It's the first thing people say when they see Frankenstein. He gets up. He's lumbering. He's huge. He's massive, and people he's got a face, and people think that you know in fact they even say Frankenstein's monster, but in reality it was reversed. You know, it was really the doctor who was the monster, and not Frankenstein.
Phantom of the
Um,
Opera, same way, because Eric was born in the book, in the original Chaney film. He was born that way. He was just born. In his day, would have been called deformed, horribly deformed, and people made a judgment about because that he was a monster because of the way that he looked, and so he conformed to that judgment, and he became a monstrous human being. But he wasn't a monster; he was a human being.
no, no. Uh, let's see the chat. Hey Hobbs, our good friend Hobbs is in the house. Thanks for
You
coming in, Hobbs. So I guess I'll ask you, to go back to the beginning because I got to do that. But we're going to come back to this. Rest assured. Um, so I guess the only preset question I have for you, the only question I always ask everybody is, where were you born and raised? Where were you born and raised at?
I was born and raised in a small rural place, um, relatively poor, South Carolina. And in those days, the distance between South Carolina and Los Angeles was like 1,000 times what it actually is in miles. The culture was so different. Um, LA was just a dream world, because we didn't have the internet, and we didn't have a lot of the things that connect and make us all the same. So yeah, I was a small town boy. Spent a lot of time in the woods by myself. I love the woods. I still do. I don't like being around a lot of people. I still don't. It makes me nervous.
Yeah.
And yeah, I had a rural small town childhood.
Uh, so so that's where you got your first, like we just talked about, that's when you first got your exposure to books and radio. Were your parents creatives? Did they like read, and did they listen to the radio and when you were younger? Did they have the radio on at night?
They just worked.
You just worked.
They just worked. They wanted me to do well in school, but I remember my dad coming in. I through Famous Monsters, Filmland magazine, I got into Lon Chaney, and that got me into monster makeup. So my first ambition was, I'm going to be a special effects makeup artist. So my dad had an old fishing tackle box that looked like a picture of Chaney's makeup box. So I ordered all the stuff that was in Chaney's makeup box as close as I could get, even like mortician's wax they used on corpses. Great makeup box. And I remember when I had it all together, I was trying to make myself up as Quasimodo. And I remember my dad coming in, and he said, "You're a weird kid, Billy. You're a weird kid." And he had a smile on his face, but what he was saying was, "I don't get this. I don't get it." So yeah, I was the weird one of the family in that way. My parents were very supportive, and my father finally, just last year, stopped saying you need to get a real job. I've been making a living as an actor for 30 years. And up until last year, always he'd say, "What do you got going on?" And if I said business is slow, he'd say, "Well, you need to get a real job." And he finally quit saying it. So I think it took that long for him to say, "Okay, that's a real job."
I mean, so he understand the depth of your career? I mean, you've won so many different awards and been you're highly respected in your field. I mean, and your stage work is just amazing.
Well, my father wanted me to use Junior because he never wanted to be confused with an actor. So that's why I always use the Junior. Yeah, I have a lot of respect for my father. We are very different people professionally, but internally we're a lot alike. We both are highly critical people. I try to suppress it because of my business. We both don't really like people very much. I mean, we don't like a lot of people around us. It kind of makes us nervous. And we both always think that we know the answer. So when he and I get together, then, we both think that we know the answer. And
You
usually
guys,
neither one
uh,
of us do.
do you two play chess?
No, we should, though. We should play chess.
Yep, you should.
I
I mean,
help
that's
him with computer stuff a lot, and that's sort of been our bonding in the computer age. Is he'll call me up to find out how to do stuff on the computer, and I'll tell him, and then he'll say it's too complicated. It shouldn't be that complicated, and I'll just say, Dad, it just is, and you know.
yeah. I mean, I when I called you, one of the things I'll ask, ask people if they're used to, working on StreamYard, and like pretty much 85% of the people I asked, they never used the platform, and you're like, oh yeah, I use that, I use Zoom, and what other platform did you mention? I think
Yeah,
you mentioned
Blue
3 or 4.
Jeans. Some
Yeah,
people do interviews on Blue Jeans.
yeah, yeah. I'm familiar with everything, and it's like, oh, this is going to be really refreshing.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so it was like, okay, yeah, he knows what he's talking. He knows it, so that makes it a lot easier for me.
I
And
like machines. I like my dad made a living fixing jukeboxes and like you used to call them piccolos and coin operated machines and then radios and televisions and had his own business doing that. And I also I like figuring things out and taking things apart and figuring how they work. The difference is my dad likes to do it with machines and I like to do it with people.
sure, sure. Um, when was how old were you when you got an inkling to do something with your gift? I mean, what did you when did you get did anybody encourage you, or did anybody notice that you're reading books a lot and like try to get you involved with theater group or anything like that?
No, it wasn't. It was a small, rural, hardworking place. And so you had to kind of do it yourself. But I knew I wanted to be an actor from my earliest memories. It's all I ever really wanted to do. So it's been pretty incredible to me that I'm able to make a living. People, and people mean well, but they say, oh, one day you'll win an Oscar. Man, I don't care about an Oscar. I don't care about awards or being on the cover of this or that. Just to be able to make a living doing this is pretty amazing to me.
Uh, you know, I'll agree with you on that, but seeing your past work, uh, it just it's like, I mean, I'm reading what you've done, and I've seen the level that you have, and it's just like, I guess if you do like to work, I mean, that's what you do. You want to work. I mean, you've appeared in some really good films and some TV series. You have one of the most. I mean, I mentioned I was interviewing you to a few people, and the first thing they came out with, they didn't mention any of your horror films. They mentioned they mentioned Criminal Minds. They said, do you ever watch that show?" I said, "Yeah, I've seen that show a few times." "Did you know he was in it?" "No." "Dude." It's like, okay. He says, "Yeah." And then the other thing the other thing I mentioned, I remember too, when I started doing my research, was you appeared in The Secret Life of Bees. That was a big production. I remember that movie when it came out. It was a big thing. And so I was like, yeah, this guy, and then I read the background, and I read about your one man shows, playing JFK, doing Ray Bradbury, General William T. Sherman. I'm just going like, this guy is an actor. He's an actor's actor. He's the real deal.
I do love
And
it. I do. I love. I thought when I was a kid, I thought I wanted to be somebody else. I always thought, oh, I wanted to pretend to be other people. But then what I've found is that any type of performing, what you're really doing is exploring different parts of yourself that you like to deny are there. Um, and that's what makes it interesting is finding out, oh, this is a part of me too. You know, I'm attached to a film. It's a straight World War II drama called The Message, which will shoot in Romania if COVID ever calms down. But I'm attached to play Adolf Hitler, and so I announced that I've signed this attachment to play Hitler. And I had some people on Twitter say, how could you play such a monster? And the term monster was used quite a bit. And I thought, no, that's the whole point. Is that
Hmm.
Adolf Hitler was not a monster. He was a human being. That's the frightening part, and that's what you do as an actor. You find parts of people who most people would say, I don't want anything to do with them. And if you play them, you have to have everything to do with them and allow them into your soul and find the intersectional parts. You can't have much. You can't have illusions when you do this for a living.
Um, that's we touched on that briefly too, and it's like, yeah, when you do a movie like that, where you play someone like Hitler, I guess yeah, you're right. He was born human, and then but he did morph into the monster, though. There's no mistaking to that. Um, you know, and to do what he did, but
But biologically, there's no difference between you and me and him.
well, but we're not all. We all have one thing in common, though. We have souls. We
Did he
have.
have a soul?
I don't know, Bill.
I don't
I don't
either.
know.
I don't either. I don't even know what a soul is, of course. I'm just
Yeah.
throwing around terms, but
No,
it's an interesting question to think that some people are so heinous that we put them in a category of they can't possibly be like us. They can't.
I
I
can't
mean,
even. But you and I, we can't. I mean, you could play him, and you could try to, you could play him, and you could create him for the public, but you can't be him. You can't get,
no,
and there's no way that any sane person is going to open that door, walk in there, and like I'm going to become, like a method actor. I'm going to become him, and just there's
no.
no way you could do that and come out of the other side without being fractured, a risk or run the risk of being fractured.
Which is why
Or
actors end up dead or
yeah,
overdosed, and people wonder why, and you just explained why.
uh, and I'll say this. I'll say the exact opposite. I will say thank you for playing Adolf Hitler, because we as a society here, we are forgetting. We are replacing. We are coloring him a different color in the history. We are forgetting about him. We are not teaching about him. We're not teaching about what he did, and we are forgetting as a nation. Um, Otherwise, we would never have Americans or Canadians or Britons walk down the street wearing a German uniform, or waving a Nazi flag. But they've forgotten. They have forgotten what he's done, and that's what's sort of scary. And sometimes we need movies like this, The Message, to come out and give a serious take and go like, this is not that far ago. We still have people who are still alive when this was going on. Maybe not so many, but we still have them, and the families that have been affected by Hitler on both sides are still true today.
That's right. And the people who orchestrated the Holocaust were PhDs.
Yeah,
They were doctor this and doctor that and doctor that. They'd studied philosophy, and the final solution was not the final solution to begin with. It developed incrementally, step by step, little by little, a little of this, a little of that, a
no,
little of this, until finally it led inevitably to the horror that we know. But people think it couldn't happen. It
it's
couldn't happen
happening here.
again. Or maybe that it never happened, or because they just can't conceive. But it all starts really small, right? It's really
Yeah.
small. It starts in little tiny chunks.
A fire starts with a spark.
That is true.
Um, would you then now did you end up going to acting? Thank you guys for yeah. This is exactly what I was hoping this would be. I'm so pleased. Thank you. Um, when you were growing out of South Carolina, did you go to class? I mean, did you when you wanted to become an actor, did you go ahead and go to college or acting class, or
I did.
did
I went to in those days it was called journalism school, J school, where it was a combined major of acting and television performance because they figured you're not going to be able to make a living as an actor, so you'll be a TV newsman. But I had no ambition to be a TV newsman, so yeah, I learned the craft. But really, I don't know what it's like in your profession, but in mine, you can't really learn anything until you start to do it because you have to make mistakes, and yeah, you have to keep making mistakes and thinking, oh, how the hell did that happen? How do I make sure that never happened again? So you don't really start learning anything until you get out there and start failing.
yeah, yeah. Actors fail a lot at first, you know, because you're learning, as learn as you do, learn as you go.
And ask questions. Like, a movie set has like, I don't know, 50 to 100 people. A big one has 100, small one usually has about 50. But everybody's doing something. And, ask the lighting guy, why are you lighting the scene this way? Um, learn why the frame is constructed the way it is and what your place is in it. That's the, so when people hire me or a guy like me, I mean, yeah, they may like what I do, and I hope they do, but a lot of what they're hiring is the experience. They're hiring somebody that's going to be able to walk onto the set and hopefully think instinctually, okay, this is what this scene needs. I don't want to push it too much. I want to hold back, or this scene needs full out action. You just kind of gauge it. Maybe it's like a plumber who can walk in and say, a lot of guys would use a U joint here, but I don't know. I'm thinking something different.
Um, do you agree with this statement? Like I mentioned this before. Hi, John. How are you, sir? He says, John, our friend John says, hello, Bill.
Hey, John.
Uh, and do you feel like when I was looking at, looking at this, and I was mentioning that, you're what I call an elevator actor. I mean,
What's that?
every elevator. I
Yeah.
mean, it's when you go on set, when there's a movie there, when you go onto the set, when you come on, when you're attached to it, the movie goes raises up a level.
Oh, my
The
Lord. Thank you.
the
You're
the,
nice.
the professionalism and the chances of a success go all that much more, because you're such a professional and you have such skill. And
Well,
so,
I try not to bitch and I don't eat a lot. So, I try to be an easy hire. I just stay in my trailer and have a banana and, till I'm ready to work.
uh, 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 yeah, well, though. I mean, it's true though, because it's like, it's when you see your name attached to it, it's like a lot of us here. We all have our favorite character actors. They go out there and you look for it. Like when I go blind shopping, and folks here they do the same thing. When we go out there, we look for movies. For me, the first thing I look for is a name. It's name recognition. you know, getting a Bill Oberst Jr. movie. If I see that, then I know at least I know I'm going to get a great performance out of one actor. I know that's going to happen. And more often than not, it's going to raise everybody else's game up a lot better. So now the movie goes from to being something I want to see because I think it's going to be good. Um, it's just not going to be just another title sitting on the shelf. When you see your names attached to it, you know that you're going to get quality. You're going to get a good turn. You're going to get someone who's working. It's not phoning it in. No matter how funny or ludicrous or whatever, like Hell's Kitty. I love that movie. That movie's fun as hell. And I saw you in that movie. I'm going like, oh my, because there's a ton of icons in there, but it was just so much fun. I mean, because it was such a small movie, but the way they filmed it and the way they had you guys all come in, and it just made that movie like that's how a movie becomes a cult favorite. That's smart casting.
I'm going to tell Nicholas that you said that. Um,
Oh, please do.
that was really fun to do. And when I shot that scene with Doug, we were giggling the whole time because it was just really, really funny. And at the end of the thing, after Doug had done his freak out, Nicholas came back to me and he said, "Bill, we want to do one more thing." He said, "Can we write pussy on your chest and put you in a diaper?" And I was like, "Yes, of course." So I have a great shot of me in the makeup chair with these girls figuring out how they're going to write pussy on my chest. And my eyes are rolling upwards and it's like that's the business.
um, I mean, is it fun for you to do something like that? I mean, do you see
Yeah.
it as fun? Just a good time and chance to like you mentioned you
Yeah,
sort of
because it's a family, right?
right,
It's like everybody in this weird family. You, being on set when it's a small production and everybody's passionate like that is so much fun because nobody wants a movie to be bad and everybody's trying really hard to make it interesting and fun, and respecting the viewer. And whether it comes out good or bad, yeah, it's always a lot of fun. That's why I've done some crazy shit on
yeah.
film, and it's because people say, "Oh, Bill, would you do that?" I'm like, "Yes." How can I say no when everybody on set is like, "Yeah, let's do it."
Yeah, I guess the energy, you sense the energy. I mean, I think a set is energized by the level of talent it has. If you have really good actors and you have a really good director who knows what he's doing, is a good DP, it makes getting up and going to work a lot of fun. When someone's not so experienced, or there's changes in the script at the last minute, or you have to. It comes really more like a 9 to 5 job, and the joy does go out of it pretty quick.
Yeah, it's at least in the indie world, I can't work like that, man. I can't work like I'm punching a clock. It's because a lot of times there's not a lot of money, and you don't know how well the movie's going to do. And people mortgage their homes to finance these movies. You got to put everything you got into it, or it's just no fun.
Um, what was the first stage play you did? How did you decide to start doing like a one man play? Because that was your calling card. That was how you first got started in this business.
Yep.
And I mean, what a man! Are any of those out on for home release? Is there
No,
any
I
way?
never, I never had them filmed. I mean, amateur, but not professionally filmed. I kind of like stage to be like it's just an intimate thing that happens with that audience, and that's it. Movies are the big, you can see them over and over again.
Yeah,
But I started doing solo shows because really the truth is nobody would hire me. I wanted to do, legitimate stage, and I couldn't get hired, and so I decided to hire myself. And I just started doing one man shows of historical figures in their own words and touring those. And I did that for 13 years. I had my own sort of business. I did theaters, I did educational institutions, and I really got off on like taking a historical figure, taking their words, and then crafting their words into a presentation that would make you feel like you were with them. I liked it.
that's an amazing gift to become that person like that. I
And then to
mean,
figure out like what when we
yeah,
die, somebody will go through our stuff. Okay, so for a famous person who said a lot of things, their words are their stuff. So what are the words that absolutely represent them? That's an interesting challenge.
extremely so. Who was the who was the first one man? Who did you do first for your one man show?
Twain, Twain, because I could rip off Hal Holbrook like everybody else. Patrick, I know guys who have put their kids through college ripping off Hal Holbrook. God rest his soul, may rest in peace. And I did the same thing. And at first I thought, oh, I'm going to do my own Mark Twain. It's not going to be like his. The closer I aped Hal Holbrook, the more people love the show.
Oh my gosh,
So
that's
that's what I did. And then I did Kennedy because I'm a big Kennedy buff, and I don't look like him, but I did the makeup and certainly did the accent and spoke in his voice. and created a show called JFK in his own words. And then I did Jesus of Nazareth for churches and seminaries, and that's just his own words as he might have looked speaking them. And then I did Louis Grizzard, who was a Southern regional comedian, and Ray Bradbury.
I'm sort of heartbroken that none of them were filmed.
Well, I'm writing a one-man show now about Satan. It's called Adversary: Three Faces of Satan, because I'm
Okay.
also really interested in Satan and the way we've always viewed the idea of Satan. And I'm going to use scripture, and I'm also going to use some bits of short stories that have been written involving the character of Satan. And that one I will have filmed.
Okay, good, good. Um, Satan. Wow, that's an interesting character all in himself, right?
Isn't it though?
You know what I really like about Satan? I'll tell you what I really like about it. I tell you, it's man. This tells you everything you need to know about man. Man cannot stand to have anybody flawless.
Yeah,
There's always got to be something flawed about everything,
that's right.
and and that includes God Himself. Um,
That's quite an
and
insight.
yeah, God. And they look at God and they look at and they can't stand to see Him holy and all that. They have to stain Him by saying that He created Satan and that Satan was in heaven and he was an imperfect angel. And it's just like, how on one hand can you sit there and say God is perfect and he created everything, yet at the same time you make him fallible enough to create Satan?
That's the great paradox.
Yes, isn't it?
And the mystery of evil, like, I mean, this is late night pot smoking stuff, but what is evil? Is it just bad behavior? Or when you get to the level of someone like a Hitler, is there some force that just can't be explained by human malevolence, or is it all just bad humans behaving badly? Are we making up evil? I don't think we are, but
No,
yeah,
no.
it's an interesting late night conversation whether there's some kind of force that is embodies evil that can enter into people.
I mean, you look at evil and you say, well, like people say, where was evil created? That's one of the answers that we don't know. We don't know where it was. It always has been.
Ask your chat room people. Do they believe that there's guys and girls in the chat room? Or do you
Yeah.
believe that? Is there a force, an evil force? Do you think? Or is it?
Uh, let's see. Hobbes is saying Belial from Basket Case is evil. Um, let's see. Yeah. So yeah. Well, let's do that. Open up the chat here. What is your definition of evil? I mean, is evil created or has it always been? Do you believe that evil exists?
Do you believe in a devil? That's an interesting
Yeah,
question.
yeah. Do you believe in? Do you? Yeah. Or is Satan? Has Satan been here? Is Satan a fallen angel? Where did he come from? What's he doing?
Ooh, this is good. See, nobody ever asked these questions in these interviews. I really like this.
Um, yeah, it's I'll show you. Let's see. Ben says he doesn't believe in Satan. Well, I disagree, Ben, because someone stole your motorcycle this week. So there's a little devil out there right there. So um and Quilted did frame Gigan, so there might be a little evil in Quilted too. So I'm not so sure about that, my friend. um, see, Ben says evil is defined by societal norms. Um, I don't know if it's defined. I think it's always been. I mean, I think the certain level of the evil is there. I mean, like someone stealing a candy bar. It's not a good thing to do. I wouldn't necessarily call it evil. Um, as far as like robbing somebody or stealing somebody's house or gerrymandering someone's politics, to make sure that they're things that or denying a fellow man the same rights that they have, including life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Uh, the fairy dust. Renee's mentioning Psalms 23:4. Um, hmm. well, since I was sort of ready for this anyway. See, I have a Bible here, so there you go. Um, let's see what Psalm says here, if you don't mind. I like
No,
this.
what which psalm? Which psalm is it?
Psalms 23:4.
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay.
Lord's my shepherd. That's the Lord's my shepherd, yeah.
Let's see. 23:4. No, it says here. Oh yeah. There you go.
Lord's my
Psalms
shepherd, I shall
23.
not want. Yeah, he makes me lie down in great pastures, leads me beside still waters, he restores my soul. What's verse 4?
Um. Yeah. I think. Wow. I mean, is religious another form of evil?
It can be.
Mm-hmm. Has been. I mean,
Sure, it absolutely has. If you burn people because I mean if you literally burn them, burn their flesh because they don't profess what you profess and believe what you believe, that's damned evil, man. I
yeah.
don't care what you say your God is. That's evil. If you're burning people because of your religion, it's evil.
We are going to guess. Here he is. Okay, you actually are asked for today. So he is, like I said, he's God,
Hey,
yeah,
hey
he's a
there,
handful.
beautiful. Aren't
Okay,
you
Paladin.
some?
This is the cheetah.
Oh, nice.
I named him Paladin after the Richard Boone character in Have Gun Will Travel.
Absolutely.
Huh. Nice
Nice.
champion.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a handful. Let me tell you.
Does he come to his name? Does he know his name?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
he knows. Yeah, he knows both Paladin and then he also knows cheetah. He knows a lot of words. He knows turkey. He knows treats. He knows come here. He knows let's go to bed. Uh, let's TV outside. Let's go out. But he doesn't go outside. But he knows that word. If you say it, he'll respond to it.
Do you
So
think
yeah,
they have
he knows a lot of words actually.
do you think they have souls?
Yes,
Yeah,
I
me too.
think animals were put on a planet to teach us to love. Um, I believe that we will when we go to heaven, all our pets will be there because without those pets, I don't think a lot of us would make it. I mean, that's for most people, that's the very first thing that we ever love. One, because it's ours. For the most part, it's the very first thing that we've ever had that we can call our own is a pet. And so we learn how to take care of it. We learn how to watch out over it. To feed it. When parents go out there and say, "Now, are you going to be able to take care of that dog or a cat?" And kid will say yes, and then you find out if they really can or not. And I think how people treat animals really speaks to their character. But
Yeah, that
yes,
old the old thing of good dogs don't like bad people.
it's like that old Twilight Zone episode where the man and his dog are going on a hunt and they both pass away, but they're on this road anyway, and they walk up to this one entrance where the guy says, "Well, welcome to heaven," and come on in. They were waiting for you, and then the man starts walking through the gate but he says, "But your dog can't go. Your dog can't go. He's got to stay outside." And the man turns around and says, "Well, if my dog can't go, I'm not going to go."
Mhm.
I mean, because what kind of place would heaven be without our pets?
Yeah.
You know. So yes, I totally agree that our pets will be up there when they pass. They do have souls.
That's a
Um,
beautiful, I'm sure you just made millions of pet owners, and me too, to be thrilled at the thought of seeing my dogs again.
yeah.
I dream about them, and I'm sure all of us do about pets who passed away, and that's a beautiful, beautiful thought. I hope you're right.
Uh, Man wants to know what we stumbled into. That's because Well, Ben is also a really he's a huge animal lover himself. He's got a very cute corgi named Quilted. I give him a hard time about. Um, let's go back to your one man play real quick before we start getting into the horror. That's what everybody wants to talk about. But I want to go a little bit about the plays and you won a daytime Emmy. Another thing that really just it's an eye opener for Take This Lollipop. Now, that your first experience as far as playing a how did that experience go for you? Because I read the background of it, and you're playing a stalker online.
If I had been in LA 8, I came to LA in 7, and that was 12, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I've been for 5 years, 6 years, I've been doing small indie films, playing variations of this kind of character. And so I got the audition for that. And luckily, the director, Jason Zada, he had Googled me and he knew some of the stuff I did, but he wanted darker. He said, I believe that you can do a deeper level of what you do. And he said, I want you to go really, really dark. And so when we filmed the thing, I didn't have any idea that what I was looking at because it was a secret. So I had an old desktop monitor and it just had a piece of blue on it, blue screen to be inserted later. And I was pawing it, and we're in Linda Vista Hospital in LA. The old hospital has been used for a million video shoots and very creepy. And I kept saying, Jason, what am I looking at? And he just whispered in my ear and he said, go dark, go to the basement. Now go to the sub basement, go dark. And so it helped me to do the stuff I've done later because he really encouraged me to just throw away the bullshit ideas of what a villain is and really go to the bottom of the soul. Um, yeah, and it ended up working and winning an award and being helpful. It was good.
You're being modest. You want a damn Emmy. I mean, not very
Well,
many people I know. Not very many people I know win one of those. You're the first time I've talked to anybody who's won an award like that.
I
Um,
mean, I'm my father's son, and my father says, yeah, well, what are you going to do tomorrow?
well,
So,
well, I'm going to brag it up because
yeah, that's all
uh,
right.
I think it's an amazing role, and I think it's a critically important role. It was a PSA, basically what it was. Take This Lollipop was created for Facebook, and it basically gave a warning out to kids and their parents about what their kids were doing. And it's funny I mentioned this because we just had an incident here on Instagram where someone that a lot of us know, we knew through our social media, but we knew him, and he had been stalking and terrorizing a 16-year-old girl for 2 years. I was reading about when I was reading about Take This Lollipop, I was thinking, how scary is that? 2012, it's like, well, that needs to be like shown again and again and again, because this shit still happens. That's going to be around forever. Your performance and your warning and the death of it, to make people stand up and listen to it, that's going to be forever. And
Well, I thank you. I tried to bring some vulnerability to it too, because nobody thinks that they're evil, even if they're doing really heinous things. They justify it in themselves. And so I tried to show it in the guy's eyes that he's thinking, I shouldn't do this, but then he's thinking, it's okay because I have excuses, all that stuff in the eyes. That's more interesting to me than just playing a villain who says, I'm mean and I'm going to do mean things. Nobody thinks of themselves that way. We all justify ourselves. That's what makes it scarier.
so you've been working for 5 years up to that point.
Yeah. Taking
Um,
every job, every job, every job. I took
what was the yeah
every damn job.
what was the first horror movie that you did that first low budget one that you did that you
A
came
movie,
in?
a movie called Dismal, and I played a cannibal who was also a park ranger. One of these stupid kids come camping and they stay in the Dismal Swamp, and I'm Ranger Dale, and they say, "Should we camp here?" And Ranger Dale says, "Yep, I think y'all gonna be just fine tonight." And I've got a mutant son, and so yeah, it was the first thing I'd done in horror. There was a lot of blood, and it was a lot of fun.
Ben, you're cracking me up. Uh, Ben says some people know they are evil. I believe in. Oh, I'm sorry. No, I read that wrong. Some people know that they are evil. I believe and they revel in it. I do too. I do think so. I think when they do, I think they learn really early on when they start, when they start hurting live animals or insects or saying words that cause people to cry. I think they do know, and I think that they do get off on that, and it
Ben may
grows
be
with
right,
them.
but as an actor, I can't believe that Ben's right because I can't do the performance if you can't love the person that you're playing on some weird level, you can't do it. So that's why I insist on always thinking, oh well, they make some excuses.
Right.
Uh,
It's your parachute. It's your safety net.
yeah, I have to because otherwise I can't find any way into them if they're just completely malevolent and evil all the time.
Yeah, it's yeah, you got to be able to have you got to be have a back door out. We asked another actor once how because he's method, and we asked how do you disengage yourself from your act, from the role you play. And he said that his experience was he go in front of a mirror and he'd shake his hands out like this, like, okay, I did the best I could, and then he just like shake his hands like this and go like, that's it. He's laying it right there, and then he walked out, and he left the character behind. That was his way of coping with what he was doing and who he was playing with, and it served him so far. I mean, he's still working and he's still doing fine. He isn't, but yeah. Uh,
I just have nightmares. I don't have a method. Eventually the nightmares stop, but each character lives in your head, or at least in my head, for a while,
yeah.
and then they have to dream themselves out.
Do you ever write? I mean, do you write like a journal? Do you like ever write like you're feeling that bad, or you're having a little bit of trouble disconnecting yourself from we're not talking like a Ranger Dale. We're talking like something meaty, something like like in This Is Lollipop. I mean,
Or like a Hitler.
or a Hitler. We'd
Right.
like after you do Hitler, will you get a book and write it out to help get it out of you? Write your experience about a role.
Only after. You can't do it while you're doing it,
No,
or
but
else, or you can't
afterwards,
do it afterwards. Yeah, you could. You could. I haven't. Maybe I should. Maybe I should. I thought about writing. Every actor writes a book, but most people aren't interested uh,
no,
in in this kind of stuff. But yeah, that would be interesting. I talk to the character a lot out loud because you have to commit to them while you're living in them, and so I talk with them, and they become, you know, really close to you. And yeah, it's hard to let go. Again, this is why actors end up really messed up sometimes.
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 It seems to me that you have a very firm handle on that.
Well, I pray, and I don't mean pray in the bullshit way, like oh, we beseech thee. I mean, I just say, God, you open this door. I believe you're there. I committed everything I have to you in the best way that I know how, and you open this door, and so I'm just trusting you to walk through it. And if you don't want it open, then close the door and help me leave it behind. That kind of stuff. Yeah. I don't know what I would do if I didn't believe that there was something outside of myself, that there was a higher power. I don't, I don't know if I'd want to live really because it's such a huge part of my life. The idea that life has a meaning and a purpose beyond my little existence.
Sure. I no, we're I believe that we're going somewhere else after we're done here. I mean, this world's just, it's just too immense for that not to happen. That's just
But
how I.
why can't we be better while we're here? Why has humanity done such a crappy job of taking care of each other and taking care of the earth? Why are we?
Because we are all born, we're all born in sin, and we come short of the glory of God. We're born in sin. It
We
was
just
Adam
we,
and Eve.
we just don't seem to get any better, Michael. We don't seem to get any better. We develop fantastic technologies, and it always seems at various points like, oh, now we're going to use all of this stuff for the good, and we don't.
No, the love of money, the love of pride, the love of ego. The seven deadly sins. I guess you could all apply to today's world. And yeah, a lot. More people hide behind the Bible than anything else. I mean, more people die in the name of God than anything else that's killed anybody in history. They die for religion. Whether it be Jesus or Muhammad or Buddha or whoever, whatever figure you want to put out there, but they all died in God's name, and it's just like that's why we had the Crusades. That's why we had the Black Plague. World War One. The Holy Roman Catholic Empire did the Inquisition, the first modern Holocaust.
I have to kill
All,
you to save your soul.
yeah, yeah.
Sorry.
The witches, the Salem witch trials. It goes on and on and on. Yeah, it's religion is people like to use it to hide behind. We have that here in America. People get up on the pulpit and they you have all these mega churches out there, and now you look at the money they make and you wonder how much are they actually giving away to the person on, how are they preaching salvation? Are they preaching justification? Are they helping the poor and the needy? They don't. I mean, they tell their flock that they need a private plane to fly from one coast to the other, and yet forgetting in the Bible, Jesus Christ walked everywhere he went.
That's why I like him. Yeah, that's why I've always liked my Jesus is an
Yeah.
earthy, rough Jesus, and that's my image and my vision of him. And that's what makes me like him. I've seen books like Jesus the CEO where he has a tie on. I just think that's bullshit. He,
Yeah.
he wouldn't have been a good CEO at all, man. He wouldn't
How,
have been a
how did
good president. All the things that he said
no?
were anti human status.
Yeah. No. Brene's saying that she doesn't believe in religion, only in God, and that's a rare thing. I mean, you got politicians out there, you know, claiming to be, the Bible says, many shall come saying, I am Christ, but Jesus will say, I knew you not, and that's the truth. They hide behind it. Um, when you played Jesus of Nazareth, did you ever get any feedback from the audience? What kind of feedback did you get from playing? Because that's pretty polarizing.
I made a point never to appear out of the makeup and out of the character. So I never spoke to people otherwise, but through it, doing it, all I did was took the words that Jesus is reported to have said in the Gospels, meshed them together into sort of this running discourse. And then each time people ask Jesus a question in the Gospels, those were on cards throughout the audience, and people could pop up at any time and ask that question, and that would lead you off on that little. So I did this in mosque, seminaries, tabernacles, churches of all denominations. It was always the same material, and I never had anybody say, "Oh, I have a problem with any of that." And I thought, "Huh, they fight about all of this stuff, but they're all cool with the words of Jesus," which I found interesting. The feedback that I had was while I was doing it, seeing people's eyes. I mean, they weren't, of course, looking at me; they were having their own experience. I was just they were using me. I was a conduit, but I saw old people and people with hardened eyes just become like children. I saw people soften, and I thought, it's a really good thing, these words of love that can make an old person's eyes look young and make a hard person's eyes look soft. Uh, yeah, it was a beautiful thing.
It's has that been the hardest character for you to was that the hardest part you've ever had to play?
Yes,
Was
because I was so worried that I would try to bring myself to it, and I really didn't want to. I just wanted the words. Just wanted the words to be there because I don't know what they mean, and I don't want to bring some, here's exactly what Jesus meant. I just wanted these startling, shocking words like, if a man strikes you on your left cheek, turn it off of your right. What? I don't want to do that. I just wanted those words to come across. And so yeah, it was really hard to do that and to just stay out of the way. I did it for 13 years though. I did it a couple thousand times.
um Chadwick mentioned about Chadwick mentioned he saw Dismal. He said it was an amazing movie. Um,
He's nice.
huh?
He's
Uh,
nice. I still have the wife beater, the blood encrusted wife beater.
really? Do you keep props from every? Do you keep like a single prop from or a couple of props from every role you play?
I try to. Sometimes they give you the shoes, which is cool. I've got a
Uh-huh.
great pair of boots from a movie called Painkiller that I did last year, and I have yeah. I try to keep a piece of something from each one.
That would be fun. I mean, you must have do you have a memorabilia room in your house?
Yeah, I got a bunch of stuff and little things that mean something to me.
Um, what actors do you what actors have really impressed you in working in horror? I mean, who are some of your favorite actors that you've been like, first time you worked with them and you were surprised to see how good they really were?
Hugh Jackman, who's not a horror actor, but of course you know that he's good. But we did a commercial together, um, and realizing not only his camera technique that he knew exactly. I learned a lot from him about close-ups, about how to dial back the performance in a close-up, but on a professional level, he was just as good as he is on camera. We had to do a turnaround thing where I was his boss and they'd already shot the two shot and they'd already shot him. And so they said, you can go back to your trailer. We're just going to shoot Bill. And he said, no, I'll stay here and I'll feed Bill lines. And I was like, you
Wow.
don't have to do that, Hugh. And he said, if it was me, would you feed me lines? And I said, yes. He said, we're in the same business. And I was like, damn, you're a pro.
Yeah.
So yeah, he was great. Bill Moseley is also wonderful to work with. Really professional. Gives it everything he's got. Um,
Do you and Bill get confused? Do people see? Do you ever think? Do people think that you're Bill and vice versa?
Bill and Bill. He's Avis and I'm Hertz. Who was the
Yeah.
second one? The number two that had to try harder. Whichever that one. That's me. Um, yeah, I like Bill. I like us both being Bills. I wish that I had been alive to work with people like Vincent Price. I really
Mhm.
like the way that Price made his performances fun, intense, but also fun at the same time. Something like Vibes or Theater of Blood. That's the kind of stuff I really aspire to do, but they don't make those movies anymore.
No.
Uh, yeah, I miss horror. It doesn't have to be trashy fun, but you know what I'm saying?
Right.
It just has a little element of Robert Englund, the original movie. He was
Uh,
fun. He was scary
yeah.
as hell, but he was also having fun.
He was having a great deal of fun. Um, would you like to do a franchise like that? With someone came up there and said, "Hey, we're gonna build a franchise around you." Would you do something like that? Would you like to
Oh,
try to take on a role like a Freddy or a Jason?
of course, of course. I've always, I mean, I guess every actor who has my face thinks, oh, I could do Freddie. But I've always thought of ways that Freddie could be done. And when Jackie Earl Haley did it, I thought he did a great job. But you're
Me
damned if you
too.
do and damned if you don't. If you do an existing character like that, I've always wanted to
Yeah.
play a Wolfman though. Um, I really really like werewolves. They're my favorite movie, and I've always wanted to do one and haven't done one. So that's a
Werewolf
classic
movies are
construct.
hard.
Yeah. What's that?
Werewolf movies are hard as hell to do, though.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
are really hard, and I mean, hard to do right.
Hmm.
It's got to be. I mean, as far as the creature features, it's got to be the hardest one.
I think you got to do practical because if you go CGI, you can't compete with the big boys. It's going to look like crap. So you got to do practical. If you
I've
did a
only
werewolf.
seen, yeah, I've only seen one CGI where it looked awesome. I mean, look, freaking amazing. And but again, the movie had like 90 or $100 million budget, if not more, and that was in with our good buddy Hugh Jackman. By the way, it was Van Helsing.
Oh, that was amazing.
Oh my gosh, yes. Yeah, that was one of my favorites. That was such an amazing movie. And
Sure was.
Schumer Hensley played Frankenstein's monster, and he also came from a theater background. That's
Wow.
what he's known for. He was known he was a theatrical a stage actor, and he gave Frankenstein's monster such a heart. So he gave him a
Yeah.
soul. Uh,
You just reminded me because I know Doug Jones is attached to do Frankenstein um, at some point. You ask about actors that I work with that I really respected, and Doug is one of them. Doug
mm,
gives it everything he's got because Doug is also from a theatrical background. And Adrienne Barbeau was another one that I want to mention who was on Criminal Minds with me. She was known as a sex symbol when she was younger, but she really, really is a strong, incredible actor. And she cried with real tears, multiple takes, over and over again, and that's very, very hard to do. I had a lot of respect for her. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Ben saying he liked Van Helsing, but he didn't think the werewolf CG werewolf wasn't. It was good. It was. It was. Go back and watch it. It's awesome. Oh my gosh, that's what happened. That's what happens, because uh, we're both huge kaiju fans, so we like the practical. So yeah,
Yeah, me too.
oh yeah, do you like Godzilla and the Godzilla movies?
Oh yeah.
Who's your favorite kaiju? Who's your favorite monster?
I mean, like with Godzilla and the older movies, you've got to suspend disbelief. You
Hmm.
know, the fact that the motion is not always smooth and perfect to me adds to this story world that you're entering into. That's the whole point of it, is that it's not like real life. That's why I think CGI fails sometime in trying to be so realistic that it takes you out of the story world, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I think they focus too much on the tech, and they lose the humanity for it. And you gotta be equal. I
Like
mean, you can't.
the old German expressionistic silent movies, they're not realistic at all, but they're pretty creepy. Like, the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, the original Nosferatu, it's creepy as hell, man. And it's not at all realistic.
I saw a movie not that long ago. I saw the Black Cat with Lugosi and Karloff.
Isn't that weird?
Oh, I love that movie. That movie was that movie was insane. It was a
So
great movie.
I sat in the Egyptian theater in LA. They showed some Lugosi, and one of them one night they showed the Black Cat and Karloff, and I sat next to Bela Lugosi Jr. watching that movie, and it was so much fun. And to talk with him afterwards, um, and how proud he was of his father. He said, "I think this is one of my father's best movies." It was really special, but that's a weird, dark ass movie. That's for sure.
Ben is our friend's mentioning. See, Brene's mentioning us. She loves actors who can get into psychotic and certain characters. Uh, yeah, yeah, I agree. I agree. Um, and then Ben's mentioning he doesn't mind CGI in general, but of course I prefer practical. But he doesn't hate CGI. I don't hate. I don't really like Asylum CGI. I don't like Asylum CGI, but I don't mind CGI either. Um, in comedy, yeah, comedies. Let's talk a little bit about this because this is something I wanted to bring up to you since you were Three from Hell. Um, what do you think the term torture porn? What does that term mean to you?
Just about everything I've done. I mean, I think it's a little bit of a red herring because it's we came up with the word torture porn because we don't want to admit that we like to see other people being hurt. We do. We really do like to see other people being hurt. We just push it way, way down inside of us and pretend that we don't, but we keep finding roots and channels to let that out of ourselves. So, yeah, horror movies are always, it's like comedy comes because somebody falls down and gets hurt, right? And it's funny.
The Stooges, yeah, the
It's
Stooges,
funny
yeah,
to us.
yeah.
So yeah, every horror movie is a torture porn. Every time an eyeball is gouged out, or a hand is hacked off, or somebody's strangled to death, or even when somebody is horribly afraid, that's a form of porn. We're getting off on the fear and the suffering, I guess, because it's a cathartic way for us to release our own tension about fear and suffering and death.
Um, I watched. I went into it because I had no idea. I'm going to tell you my quick story about this. I mean, rewatching the Friday the 13th movies, yes, they have a lot of a lot of violence or whatnot, but a lot of it's just so fast and so cut away, and it's not really graphic, and it's just like, it's almost like a book type deal, where you're seeing someone get hit and then they're cutting away, but so you got to use the rest of your imagination to figure out what happens. But I remember watching, and this I bring this up to you because you were in the third one, but I remember watching House of a Thousand Corpses.
That was rough.
Thank you.
That
Thank
was
you.
rough. I
I, I,
I could hardly watch. I could hardly
yeah,
watch Thousand Corpses. It really disturbed me.
yeah, me too. Me too. It's funny. Like I saw, I saw a movie. I saw the original "I Spit on Your Grave," and I came out of that movie and I said, I know that's my limit. There's my barrier right there. I will never go past that again. I've seen that movie one time. I'll never see it again. But that's my barrier. A lot of people will sit there and they'll go as far as they can to see what they can. But I know my barrier, and my barrier is that. And so I didn't know much about, I just went with everybody else because it was Rob Zombie and everybody was like, yeah, Rob Zombie. And so I got a free ticket to go see the movie. And so I snuck in there, and that theater was popping, Bill. There was probably about 100 seats, and they were all loud and just, pumped. And so House of a Thousand Corpses came on there, and we saw what we saw, and then came out. And I'm telling you, these guys are all Rob Zombie fans, and they came out, and it was a ghost town. They weren't talking very much at all. Um, I mean, it was so completely, it was just really bad for me and for them too. They were fans, and I really wasn't a fan. I didn't know what to expect. But is there any limitation? I mean, I know you're playing Hitler, but as far as like a slasher film or that type of horror film, is there a role that you'll just you have a limit to?
I think I've done them. I did a movie called Circus of the Dead that I can't watch again. Not because it's a bad movie, but because it disturbed me. It really disturbed me. I watched it a couple times, but I don't think I can again.
Now,
Um,
is that because of the script or your performance or a combination?
it's because of the worldview of the characters, which they had to have that worldview. It's nihilism, is that the world has no meaning and that life has no meaning. Um, that's really frightening to me. So that may be a personal thing for me. I'll tell you, the only any type of bad human being, I will gladly play, and any type of behavior that a bad human being is capable of, I will gladly play. But what I don't want to do, and I've turned down a couple of things, is playing a minister who does really, really horrible things. I know they exist, but I just don't want to feed into that kind of energy. And so I've turned down a couple of bad priest roles.
So no Joe Olstein for you then.
No, and I know, like I say, I know that this stuff exists, but it's an energy that I don't really want to feed. I don't want to give people yet another reason to say, see, I knew life had no meaning. I knew there was nothing bigger than us. And I'm sensitive to that. I don't want to be a part of that. But bad human beings, I'll play all day long because to me, all that does when you see a horrible human being is think, God, there's got to be something other than us because we're shit. We're shit. There's got to be something other than us. And it turns us to look outside of ourselves, I think.
Right. Do you like playing roles where there's a redemption arc? Like, let's say your character starts off bad, and or this, or your character's so bad that you can't wait for him to get his comeuppance. Like, like, okay, I know I'm gonna die at the end of this film, and he definitely deserves his death. So I can't wait to get him there so we can actually, buy the farm. Or in other words, or on the other hand, then you got a character, maybe he's not so bad at first, but maybe he's gonna, there's gonna be like I said, a redemption arc that you're gonna be able to come in there and, maybe save somebody's life or whatnot. I mean, do you like those type of roles too? I mean, do you get a lot of those where they,
I get,
you're gonna be a
I,
little bit
I,
of an anti-hero?
I get none of those, but I get uh, flawed men who have moments of not being quite so flawed. And that suits me because if it was a redemption arc that was like purely, ah, I'd be like, no.
No,
I want them to be wounded still. I want the scars to always be there. I don't want them to be, oh, I'm washed clean and everything's new. I want there to be scars. But I did a movie called The Retrieval where I played a slave bounty hunter named Burrell. And at the end of the movie, I mean, it's been out so long, I guess I'm not giving anything away, but there's a young man who's done some really bad things in the service of my guy who I'm playing. And so I tell him at the end, it's a great line. He says, "You're free to go, but if you want to live, don't follow me." And the kid goes off on his own way. And I really like that because I'm a heinous character who's done a lot of things, but he's giving this kid a break because he's saying, you need your life, not, I need not to be a part of your life or it's going to be a bad life. So that's the kind of redemption I like. It's like mini redemption light.
okay, okay. Um, how do you build a character? I mean, a lot of these movies are so fast. I mean, how often do you get a script and it goes to set? I mean, how fast, or do you ever have total proper time to build a character?
No, because a lot of times in indies, you know how it is. They rewrite
Mm.
as things go, or you get the script 2, 3 weeks before, and you write back and say, "Hey, is this a lock script?" And they're like, we're still messing with it, so don't commit completely to it. It's not until you really get on set. So you just have to make some choices beforehand,
Is
and
that
then just
frustrating?
yeah, and then just get there and always be willing to flow with it.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's going to be sort of frustrating though. Um, do you feel like you're a good improv actor, Bill?
No, I'm a horrible improv actor. I can't stand it. And I've worked with younger people who do it, and they'll just throw out the entire scene and they're improvising, and I have no idea what to say. I really need my script. I like the words. I like committing to, once it's locked, I want to commit to the writer's words because I figure the writer had a reason for every one of those words. And my job is to make it sound natural as if it's being spoken for the first time. That's what I get off on. I do not like just improving. I really
Um,
don't. I find that
hmm.
improving, what it really translates to is let's all say the F word a lot. A lot. Because in improv, that's pretty much what it boils down to.
Wow. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah. See how many times you can say that. Yeah, it's like a kid, like a 10-year-old kid taking it out for the ride for the first time.
But see, if you and I are doing a scene together, we have to really listen for each other because we know the lines that are coming. It's a discipline, and there are some actors who don't like the discipline of really listening to the other actor and thinking and waiting for the moment. They just want to talk, which
Yeah.
I don't think makes a good scene at
There's a
all. At least
there's
not
a
in horror.
there's a couple actors out there that are like that. I mean, they're very well known. In fact, they're infamous for it. And I just saying, I can't imagine how hard it would be to work with them. I would just be like, I like you off the set, but on the set, you're a pain in the ass.
I want my lines cut always, 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 always. When I get to set, I always get with the director and say, "Can we cut this? Can we cut this? Can we cut this? Can I just do a look here? Can this just be a gesture?" I no, because you can usually say a lot more without words.
Do directors do you ever come to you for advice? I mean, you've done so many films and you're so well known. You
They'll
know,
they'll say, "What do you think?"
mhm.
Something like that, and what they mean is, "I'm the boss, and don't forget it." But you got an idea? Yeah. So
Really?
your job is to collaborate with them. It's their vision.
Yeah,
But
I just think someone of your caliber though it'd be sort of nice to collaborate and going like like especially if I'm especially since maybe this is my third or fourth movie and I'm still feeling my way through and I get an experienced operator such as yourself. It'd be sort of nice to sit there and say, "What do you think?" I mean,
yeah,
maybe.
and I could be wrong. I could be totally wrong, and I am wrong a lot. But yeah, I would say, oh, what if we did this? And it's another idea to have thrown out there. I think the worst kind of actor for a director is one who just shows up and says, "What do you want me to do?"
Oh, does that happen?
All the time. Because
Wow.
you just say, where do I stand?
Now
Where's
that's
my
because
where's my light? They want you to. They're hiring you because, at least in the indie world, because you have experience, and they want you to try to bring an idea to it, even if they don't accept it. I had a director once who said, "What do you think?" And I said, "I want to try something." He said, "Okay." So I did it, and he said, "I really hated that, and I don't ever want to see it again. But I really am glad that you brought it up. Next time you have an idea, bring it up." And I was like, "Wow, what great honesty!" He hated it, but he wants to know what else there is for the next idea. So I can't. My job then is not to be pissy and to say, "Well, he didn't like that idea. He ain't getting nothing from me." But to say, "Okay, he didn't like that. He might like the next one." It's that kind of
right,
business.
he's open minded. Is
Yeah.
do you feel a lot of directors are more now? I mean, when you first started, let's say when you first started, are directors more open minded when you first started? Or are they more open minded now?
They're more open minded now because there's more
Sure.
flexibility now, because the film is not so expensive, that you're so locked into it. Used to be that you would rehearse everything down to the T before you ever roll the camera, and now a lot of times they'll just say, "Let's just roll a rehearsal." So yeah.
Digital cameras have changed the playing field. I mean, as far as I'm
Isn't it
concerned,
amazing?
yeah. Without that, I mean, we would not get nearly the films we're getting from indies. Without that,
That's right.
yeah, there's just no way. It would just be so cost prohibitive. Uh, let's see. Let's see. I'm at 56. Way too many movies. My brain is fire. Brene,
Mine too.
I bet Brene has. I bet she has probably a hell of a film library. I know Ben does. Cadaver Club. I know he has a huge ass library. And our good buddy Hobbs Horror, he's still here. He has a huge library. And Keith. I mean, a lot of these folks here in the chat, they all have massive collections. Um, so you did three from hell. Now, obviously, he had watched House of a Thousand Corpses before that, and then he dialed it back a little bit and made it more straight horror, more into a crime drama with Devil's Rejects, and so then there's Three from Hell, and now I have to admit I have not seen Three from Hell, but how did you get the role of Tony Commando, and were you concerned before you took the role? Did you ask them about the level of violence? Would it be on the same level as House of a Thousand Corpses, or you just didn't care?
You don't get to ask. My agent said, Rob is getting a bunch of people for cameos, and he wants you. Everybody's working for scale. and you don't get to see the script or know what the character is until he decides yes or no. And so I said yes, and that's it. You don't, yeah, you don't get to say, well, what would you have me doing? There's the deal. You want it or not.
He's
And,
probably,
and
he's holding his breath. He's coming out there with that badass attitude, but damn well he's sitting behind the desk going like, shit. I hope everybody says yes. I hope they
and
say.
everybody will say yes. It's like Ryan Murphy. I did Scream Queens. Jamie Lee Curtis was directing, and I was surprised that Ryan knew who I was. But my agent said Ryan Murphy wants you to do this role, and he wants you to put yourself on tape for it. He wrote it for you, and he's not asking anybody else to do it, but he wants to make sure you can do what he thinks you can do. And yes or no. And she go, yes, you film yourself doing it and you send it to him. And he says, yeah, that's what I thought you could do. So, okay, we'll do the role. When people of that level call, yeah, they don't have
Yeah.
to, they don't
Well,
have to kiss.
I think it's to the point. Honestly, I mean, I think there's like I think there's a level. I think it's a peer level. I mean, like when I see you in your work, I mean, as far as working with as far as peers goes, it's like I don't see Zombie being up here and you're here, character actor. I see you guys right here. You have just, you have a lot of, to me, to me, you have just as much, if not more, cachet, more oomph on your side than he does on his. And as far as track record goes.
I don't know about that, but it's a very hierarchical business, and you have to understand where you are in the pecking order. And yeah, when the big dogs call you, you don't want to be a butt licker, to be frank,
Right.
because they don't respect you, but you also don't want to be arrogant, and you want to let them know that you appreciate them having you as a part of their project.
I'm sure it's I would Ben saying he liked Three from Hell more than House of a Thousand Corpses, but I thought it was not dialed back at all. I thought it was a bit more mean spirited than House. I don't
And
know I don't know about that. I mean, House of a Thousand Corpses was brutal.
I will
I,
suggest one reason that it might be more mean spirited.
okay.
And this is my armchair pop psychology, but Rob Zombie has aspirations, and well deserved aspirations. He's a really, really strong director and a great storyteller. He wants to do things that are not horror, and he has some passion projects that aren't horror. And I think that he has been pigeonholed into horror more so than he would like. And I could be completely wrong about that, but that's my instinct. Um, is that he wants to do some other things, and yeah, that may lead to a harder edge for the horror that he does do. He's done it, and he's done a wonderful job at it, and I think he wants to do other things. I wish that people would let him do other things, because I've seen what kind of director he is up close. He's very strong. He doesn't have to be limited to just horror.
Right. I think he's gonna get a shot. I think he's gonna get a shot at mainstream with the Monster remake.
I
You
hope
know,
so.
he's gonna be PG already.
Yeah,
Everybody thought, what's he gonna do with it? What's he gonna do? Well, how about this? It's rated PG. That's all you need to know. You
that
need
was
to know.
smart. Yeah, very
Yeah,
smart.
yeah. I think PG even more so smart than PG-13. But I
Hmm.
think PG is like saying, I'm making this for a family. I can do a family movie. Um, I want to talk a little bit about your about the podcast before I let you go.
Yeah,
So let's talk a little bit about that. Where did you get the genesis of the idea for Gothic Goodnight?
pandemic. I was scared to death like everybody else, and I was in lockdown. And I thought I've never done a podcast. And then I thought, no, I don't want to do a podcast. Podcasts are so boring. People just, talk, talk, talk. Anyway, one night I dreamed. I dreamed of this Gothic ancient library that looked like a cathedral, and it had 2.5 stories of books inside, and it was ghostly and weird, and there was a moon outside, and it was just really a fully formed vision. And I actually dreamed the words "Gothic Goodnight," and I woke up and I remembered the dream, which I rarely do. And I thought, okay, then, thank you. This rarely happens in my life, but this is a message. So I just started creating the show that very same day and writing it. And I wanted it to be like the old radio shows that I used to listen to when I was a kid. And I also wanted maybe for a younger generation to get into some of the Gothic roots of horror. So it's a bedtime podcast. They're all really short, nothing longer than 30 minutes. And what I want people to do is to get into bed, take me to bed with you, and I promise to put you to sleep. That's my pitch.
Um, I wouldn't. I have to say, in that regard, it wouldn't have. I don't know if it would. I don't know. I'm gonna find out later on because I'm gonna go listen to some more tonight.
You got to
Um,
turn off the
I,
lights.
I have insomnia, so I listen to radio, or I listen to things on YouTube and whatnot for white noise.
Okay.
But I loved your podcast. I would not say, you would not be falling asleep to it.
Well,
I think it's
thank you for that
really,
too.
really good.
And
I think
I
it's
have some white noise in the background, and I styled it. It's a lot of fun to do. Like as it goes on, it gets a little softer, and the beat gets a little bit more in line with your heartbeat. So it's supposed to be relaxing as well as very slightly creepy. But
it's very effective.
I always liked horror hosts when I was a kid, and so I created the old library keeper character. Slowly,
Yeah.
over the course of doing the podcast, he became more of a character and the things in the library. And I like people to use their imagination. So I wish people would look for Gothic Goodnight. It's on all the podcast apps. I don't make any money.
I'll be putting the link down to
Well, thank
down
you.
from that.
It's not sponsored and it's not for anything other than love. I just do it because I love the art form of creepy audio. And yeah, I'd like people to check it out.
I'm interviewing a pair of creators at the in April, Laura Hunter Drago and Samantha Mocker, and they also have made a podcast. It's called St. Mary's, the Children of the Stigmata.
Oh, nice.
It's really good. It's real good. I'll send you the link. Um,
Stigmata. That's a creepy subject in itself.
oh, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Stigmata is that is very creepy. Um, In fact, me and Ben, we actually reviewed a movie that featured a stigmata in it, uh, at the Devil's Doorway. They showed some stigmata signs. A good movie too, great movie, by the way. Yeah, I saw when I listened to the podcast, I'm just sitting there going like this is so this is awesome because it really did remind me of those old radio shows, Inner Sanctum, E.G. Marshall, like hosting the CBS Mystery Theater.
Yeah.
Man, it's just like, and my mind, I was just like, I was hearing it, and I was like, this is so amazing. The Ray Bradbury one with William Lantry, I was so blown away. It was like
Hey,
that was
thank
cool.
you.
Yeah,
I Lantry was that was the first Ray Bradbury piece I ever read was Pillar of Fire, and I love Lantry because he's really lonely and he's angry and he's the only corpse in the whole world and he just wants more dead people to have some friends.
right.
I liked him when I was 14 years old. Of course I liked him. I was angry and pissed off and lonely too. But I have a great affection for William Lantry. I'm glad you liked him.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, John. Thank you so much. Hi, John Horton. I didn't see you sneak that in here. Oh, you want to come in again? Okay. Sorry about that. He's a ham. All right. Say hi to Bill. And that's it.
All right.
All right, Bill. Say goodbye. Say goodbye. Such a ham.
Goodbye.
He's such a ham.
Well,
Yeah.
this
That's old. We need more of what you're doing as far as the podcasts go. I need to. I like to hear more people do that because it's such a throwback, and it's such a way to develop. As far as what you really appreciate in horror, or science fiction, or anything. Is just that the word. and the imagination. You
And
know,
so
it's
that and we all like to be read to, right? That was my idea was this old library keeper in this strange library is just going to read you a bedtime story. You know, that's something adults don't get a lot. We get a lot of opinions and a lot of, anger, but we don't get a lot
talk
of times
radio.
people saying, "Hey, I just want to read you a story."
Yeah, whatever happened? I mean, talk radio now is so toxic. It's just like mainstream media. I can't listen to talk radio. It's just I listen to sports radio, and that's all I listen to. I can't listen to anything else. It's so
Yeah.
toxic and it's so negative. I just don't want to hear it.
Oh
I
hell,
don't
I
want to hear.
remember when Larry King had a radio show, so that's the
Yeah.
talk radio of my era.
The very first time I ever heard Larry King, he told one of his most famous stories, and he told it a lot. But it's the first time I ever heard of it, and I became a fan after it. And it was a story about him getting Carvel ice cream. Oh my gosh, it was awesome. Um, Listen, I'm not going to ask you what you got coming next because I won't. But I will ask you this: will you come back and visit us sometime?
I would be delighted to, and I want to thank you, and I want to thank everybody in the chat room tonight for just being real people. I think we're all lonely, especially in this world today, because everybody's always slinging their anger and their attitude at us, and just hang out with people, a human connection. That's what matters, man. And so I really enjoyed tonight. Thank you. Thank you.
No problem. What it looks like John's sneaking in a question here. What did Bill learn the most from his time with Rob Zombie? And he wanted to know how fun was your experience shooting Three from Hell.
It wasn't very fun, and I don't mean it was bad. I just mean Rob's really intense, and he works really hard, and he does a lot of takes, and you're not playing around. And that's what I learned from him as a director was he's very polite, but he's very firm. Jamie Lee Curtis is the same way. They're a lot alike as a director. Very polite, but also very firm, and everybody works to please them because they are the boss, and they're a boss that has a good vision that you want to follow.
You
It's a
know,
real delicate balancing act, but
who
yeah.
I would have liked to seen, to watch him act and direct, uh, is William Forsythe
Oh yeah,
and
yeah,
and Rob Zombie. I would have paid IT to sit on that set to watch those guys work together because
yeah,
they're alphas.
yeah.
I would have liked to seen that.
That's right.
Um,
Yeah, you're right. There's a certain personality, male or female, that makes for a great director. Alpha's a part of it, and then there's also a part of you got to be an alpha who's also a leader that people want to follow. You have to be likable but not a pushover. It's a weird Yeah, it's a weird mix, but he's got it.
have you ever thought about have you directed anything yourself other than yourself on stage?
No, I have thought about it. Um, yeah, and I might like to do it. I don't know if I'd be fun to work with
Oh, I
because
think
I yeah, I know actors, and I know that we like to goof off and play around, and so I don't know if I'd have the personality for it, but maybe.
Chadwick has mentioned, he mentions that he wanted to say thank you for the autograph picture you sent him back in 2013. He says he appreciates all that you do. He always has given me really great advice.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. See, again, this is like real people
Yeah,
communicating. This is
I love I love doing this show, Bill. This is a lot of fun. There's
great
a
because
lot of people.
what you're doing is cutting through the bullshit of celebrity culture, and you're making everybody real people, and
I,
we're all on the same level, and it's great.
yeah, I don't play any favorites. I don't ask the softball questions. I'll ask you the hard questions. And I mean, to me, that's what people really want to ask. Just like like people. People really secretly want to ask the tough questions. They want to hear, someone open up and be honest.
Yeah,
And I do. I just ask the questions I want to know.
yeah.
That's what I mean. These are all questions. That's why I said I don't do any preset questions. I'm just asking questions that I want to know the answer to.
Hmm.
So that's why I ask them. Right, Diana and Chadwick. I've actually interviewed a couple of people in the chat up here before. So it's been a lot of fun. Bill, I want to thank you so much for your time. I will have you come back for sure. I want to say thank you to Matt Caston for arranging this, for helping work between us. I really appreciate that, Matt. And we're actually working with another one of his contacts. We're doing an interview with a young lady named Max Wassa later on in April. So thanks again, Matt. Bill, yeah, maybe next time you and I talk, you'll have a new dog to show off.
That'd be nice.
I'll hope for that. I'll hope for that.
That'd be nice.
Uh, uh, to everybody in the chat, we'll be back here on Tuesday. Let's see. Oh, I have a calendar. We'll be back on Tuesday with writer director Joe Leone, who has made the movie called Reap that we watched and reviewed and really liked. We think he's a really bright light, up and coming, and he'll be here on Tuesday, April 5th. Yep. Thanks so much, and we'll catch you on the flip.
Thank you. God bless you. Bye.
Bye. Stay right where you're at, Bill.
Okay.